Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and iOS 26 Beta 8 and iOS 26 Public Beta 5 released a few days ago, and iOS 18.6.2 released to the public over a week ago at this point. But there's even more to talk about since the iOS 26 Beta 8 is out. What's new video. We'll talk about the latest Apple news, we'll go over some new features in iOS 26, and also talk about the overall experience. Not just my experience using it on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, but your experience based off the YouTube community poll on the post page. At the time of this video, there's over 11,000 votes and 125 comments. I've gone over all the comments to determine what the update is like for most people, so be sure to stick around toward the end of the video where I'll read some of your comments as well. Now it's time for the most anticipated Apple event of the year with the iPhone 17. We'll get the release date for iOS 26 at the event, we'll get some new Apple Watches and more. The Apple event invite for the iPhone 17 event this year has an interactive logo. You can see it here where you can sort of interact and move it around, and it hints at possibly an infrared camera or sensors that could be used in the iPhone 17 or upcoming Apple Watch Series 11 or Ultra 3. I think many of us want more liquid glass at this point, and this could be a hint at some more, or some more features utilizing the new interface, or could be something simple. Either way, I think many find iOS 26 to be refreshing from the many years of iOS 7 flat design. I know I'm looking forward to using it when it's in its public release form, where things are more refined and refreshed and just look a little bit different than they have for many years. So let me know what you think of that as well. Apple this week updated one of its apps as well, so if we go into the App Store here, you'll see the Apple Invites app. It's probably their newest app here, and it says New Invites widget helps you count down to your next event right on your home screen. So you may have seen some of these already set up, but if you go in, Edit, we'll do that again, and it's acting odd there, add a widget, and then we can add this widget. So we can count down to whatever event we'd like, so let's go ahead and get one set up. So I have the invite ready for the Apple event. However, the widget is not updating properly for me. So if you tap on it, it brings you right to the event, but you'll see it just says invites, and that's it. So maybe it will update in the moment, but if we press and hold, we can change it to a different style. Of course, we have different options as well. So hopefully this updates soon, but either way, it's not working properly for me right now, but let me know if it's working for you. If we go into Apple Music and then under Radio, Apple has had Apple Music Radio Hits for a while, Country, and others. They're now in a third-party app for the first time. If we go into the app TuneIn, you can see them here as well. So hear what's new, and you have the same radio stations here. So they're now available in a third-party app if maybe you're not using Apple Music and you're using this app instead. We talked last week about how Apple could be working directly with Google to have Gemini be the foundation of the upcoming Siri update. They could make a separate version and then have it integrated directly into Apple's private cloud compute servers. While this may or may not happen, this week Apple updated Xcode 26 Beta 7, bringing Claude integration and GPT-5 support. So that's available now if you're a developer, and this had long been rumored and is available now for developers in the home stretch of iOS 26 app development. So that's something that could help you code those apps and get everything set as Apple continues on the home stretch of iOS 26 development as well. Apple Car Key integration is something that works really well and more manufacturers should support. Rivian will soon have Apple Car Key support for their recently updated second generation R1T and R1S SUV. Apple has pushed the ability for Rivian vehicles to use it on their end, but Rivian will actually have the update soon to be enabled for current and future owners. And it's something I've been using on my car, and it works really well. You just walk up to the car with your phone, and it acts as the key, similar to many other cars out there. So I'm not sure why more people haven't implemented this. It works really well, it's pretty seamless, and you don't think about it. Your iPhone becomes the car key. You can bring a backup as well, but it works seamless, and I've had no issues with it. So I can't wait to see more manufacturers use it. If you're using a different music app or library other than Apple Music, Apple has expanded the ability to transfer your library and playlist to Apple Music. The feature is now available in more countries according to a new support document from Apple you can see here, where it makes it easier to transfer from different libraries into Apple Music itself in Australia, Brazil, Canada, France, Germany, Mexico, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, and the United States. So you can see it's available there. I'll link this in the description if you'd like to check it out and maybe transfer your music over. iOS 26 fixes an issue with Apple Wallet that iOS 18 doesn't have and they haven't added yet. You can turn off promotions this time around in your wallet if you don't want to see those promotions we were getting when Apple's F1 movie was launched, where they were offering promotions on our iPhone, and many of us are just not used to seeing that, and it seemed to upset a lot of people. So they've added a toggle, and if we go into Wallet, in the upper right, if we go to the three-dot menu, go down to Notifications, within Notifications, we now have the option for offers and promotions. If you turn that off, you'll no longer see those, and that will go away. So I would recommend that at this point if you don't want to see promotions from Apple on your very expensive phone you didn't expect advertisements from. Another feature that was in a previous update that I didn't mention has to do with your wallpaper. If we go down to Display and Brightness, scroll down, and if you have an always-on display phone, you now have the option to blur wallpaper photo. So you can see it here where you can show the wallpaper and then blur it as well. So you'll see it's blurred while it's locked in an always-on display. So if we lock it again, it blurs in the background if you want to do that. I sort of like the effect. I'll leave it on for now, but let me know what you think of it and if you've turned it on as well if you're using iOS 26. One other thing people have mentioned this time around that I'm not seeing, but maybe you have, is if we go into Photos and maybe we try and share today's wallpaper, some people are saying that these icons have changed in Beta 8. I'm not seeing a difference from Beta 7, but many other people have seen it as well, so let me know if you're seeing those differences. One other thing I wanted to mention as well is Qi 2.2 support, or Qi 2 with 25 watt support. This was recently announced by Belkin since they released some updated chargers, and here's one. And if you actually plug it in, it can cool it on the back, but also charge at up to 25 watts, even on the iPhone 16 models. So that's something that's been added to current models, not iPhone 15, but iPhone 16, and then future models as well. Now, as far as anything else, well, there's not a whole lot new in Beta 8 compared to Beta 7, as it's a very similar build. But basically, we have liquid glass. They continue to refine it. I'm actually really enjoying it and wonder what you think of it as well. So things such as these backgrounds here where it shows liquid glass, I kind of like the look. I like how it's dynamic and changes, especially in light mode. So if we just slide up and down here, you can see it will change based on what's in the background, and it senses that information. And then also, of course, all the different effects that we see with bouncy icons and more. Of course, there's clear icons. I'm not sure I really like that, as it makes it a little bit confusing as to what's there, but there's lots of options, and I'm just curious what you think of it. Of course, this will go along with new features on iPhone 17, and we'll see that in just a couple weeks at this point. Now, iPhone 17 Pro is just a couple weeks away, and with the new iPhones, we expect new accessories. It seems Apple is working on a couple things this time around, and one is a new liquid silicone case, and that's what I would expect, is basically they're just silicone cases again, but they could have a magnetic lanyard this time around, according to leaker Majin Buu. So this is something I'm not sure a whole lot of people would use, but it looks like something Apple could be offering. It's definitely an improvement over fine woven, and we saw some of the tech woven cases that we could be seeing as well. So again, no leather cases, but it looks like we'll have tech woven. Apple could also offer a smart battery case, not for the iPhone 17 Pro models, but rather for the Air to help extend its battery life. Since it's got a super thin frame, of course that will limit its battery use, and hopefully they'll adjust some of the iOS 26 code to help it last throughout the day. But it seems like a smart battery case for iPhone 17 Air could be something they're releasing soon. It has been a few years since Apple released a MagSafe battery pack, and I think a lot of people have been wanting a new one, so it wouldn't surprise me if they did that, and I know a lot of people would be happy about that. Of course, I'm just looking forward to a new phone. Of course, we will have to learn more about this camera bar and what it's actually got inside of it and why they chose to go this direction, but I'm sure in a few weeks it'll make sense. Apple this week stopped signing a few different versions. iOS 18.6.1, iPadOS 18.6.1, iPadOS 18.6, and iPadOS 17.7.9 are no longer signed. It means you can no longer downgrade to those versions. That could mean something like iOS 18.7 is inbound, so we could see an iOS 18.7 RC this week. However, based on what we've seen before, Monday is Labor Day in the United States, meaning that's a holiday, and I wouldn't expect anything on that day. But later in the week, we could see 18.7 RC. However, I don't expect iOS 26 Beta 9 this week. It seems highly unlikely, as the last time we had a Beta 9 was iOS 12 in 2018. It's not impossible, but it's definitely something I wouldn't expect. However, I do expect iOS 26 RC or release candidate after the iPhone 17 event on September 9th. That's typically what we have every year. Then they'll tell us the release date. It will probably be next Monday, after the following Monday after that on the 15th, and possibly the iPhone releasing on the 19th. So that's usually what we see, but again, they'll let us know at that event. Now, as far as the iOS 18.6.2 experience, since it's been out over a week at this point, it seems like it's been a pretty good update. Most users are saying that iOS 18.6.2 is stable, smooth, and bug-free. Very few people report issues with battery drain, and any issues mentioned seem to be more app-related than anything else, with YouTube audio sync issues or notifications just not working properly. There's also, of course, that wallpaper bug I've shown you before, so if we swipe up, you'll see it dims. That's still there. It seems like it's fixed in iOS 26, but most people say it's working well, including CarPlay and other things. However, iOS 26 Beta 8 and iOS 26 Public Beta 5, which are the same thing, seem to be decent overall, but it still has a little ways to go. Many say iOS 26 Beta 8 is very smooth, fast, and stable, but some even call it the best iOS update yet and almost a perfect production OS, especially those on iPhone 16 Pro models. One person actually said that their camera quality improved from coming from iOS 18 to iOS 26 Beta 8, and they actually downgraded and then re-upgraded to verify, saying that the overall colors and everything else were much better, and it's no longer processing odd photos. So that's something that seems to be a major positive here. Let me know if you're seeing that as well. There's still some odd UI glitches, especially if you're using the clear icons. So maybe you're using clear icons or tinted icons. Some people are still having issues with that. So sometimes things don't appear as fast or just have issues in general. But overall, it seems to be pretty good. You can see the refraction or liquid glass effects and things here, and they work pretty well overall. So in general, it seems to be pretty good. However, there's still some touch responsiveness issues. I've noticed a few here and there, even without a screen protector, but it seems to be something that's better than iOS 18. Now, CarPlay has an odd bug. For some, Apple CarPlay still doesn't work properly. Last time with Beta 7, for me, it would connect, then disconnect and reconnect, and then it would just stay connected after that. This issue is fixed for me now with Beta 8. However, when you change the wallpaper now, it won't take effect until you disconnect and reconnect again. So some really odd CarPlay bugs. Again, there's still issues for everyone, it seems. Of course, there's still some connectivity issues too. For example, I was in New York City this past week, and mostly it was pretty good, but sometimes I had to turn airplane mode on and then turn it back off, and then it would work properly. I had some pretty poor signal sometimes where other phones didn't have that issue. So using an S25 Edge seemed to be fine, and then sometimes there were issues with my iPhone. Also, some older devices, the iPhone 12, iPhone 13, or other models, may not seem to perform as well, but that makes sense since iOS 26 uses more graphical power, and that seems to be an issue for some. When it comes to overall performance, well, again, it's mostly limited to older devices, but it's generally pretty good. Quite a few report that it's decent, very fast, you can see here, and if I scroll up and down, everything's working well, but there was occasional lag here and there. Things such as ProMotion seem to be generally pretty good, ramping up and down as you would expect, and overall animations are generally fast. So once things are loaded, it feels very fast. I don't notice any slowdowns, and it seems to be pretty good. However, when it comes to heat this time around, I haven't had too many issues except for when I was traveling. Sometimes my phone was just incredibly hot. Right now, it's not too warm, but let's go ahead and take a look with the thermal camera. But before we do that, let me run benchmarks. We'll heat the phone up a little bit, and when it's about halfway through, I'll then take a thermal reading here, and we'll take a look at it. So as benchmarks are running, let's go ahead and flip the phone over. They're still warm, processing everything. iOS 18.6.2 feels quite cool, but let's take a look. So it recalibrates, and you'll see we have on iOS 26 Beta 8 about 39.5 degrees Celsius or so, and then on iOS 18.6.2 we're at around 35.2 2 is what I'm seeing. So overall, what you would expect, not too hot. However, some people are seeing them randomly heat up. So let's wait for the benchmarks to complete and take a look at that. Benchmarks completed, and they're fairly similar this time around. So 3,502 for single core on 18.6.2, 3,403 for single core on iOS 26 Beta 8, 8,449 on 18.6.2 for multi-core, and 8,455 on multi-core for 26 Beta 8. So overall, pretty good, well within the margin of error and what most people would expect. If you're wondering if you should install iOS 18.6.2 or iOS 26 betas, if you're still unsure, I would stick with iOS 18.6.2 as it's very stable, has security updates, and generally very good battery. However, iOS 26 RC is just about a week and a half away at this point, and I would wait for that, try it out then, since that will be mostly the final version unless there's additional issues. So if you've been holding off this long, wait for that. If you're on iOS 26 earlier betas, definitely install the latest one and then report feedback if you're having issues. So make sure you're updated to the latest version for that. When it comes to overall battery life, well, most people say iOS 18.6.2 is quite good overall. iOS 26 generally seems to be better, and adaptive power seems to be helping for many people. Let's take a look at someone else's battery, and then we'll take a look at mine. This is on an iPhone 16e with 100% battery health, set at an 80% charge limit. So 6 hours and 4 minutes of screen on time, 56 minutes of screen off time, and used 53% of his battery, while charging quite a bit as well. The other day, again, 6 hours and 53 minutes, with 71% usage. So overall, getting most people through the day if you're not doing anything intensive. However, my phone did not get me through the day when I was traveling, and I had to plug it in while I was in the hotel or even use a battery pack with it. My battery health is down to 94% with 312 cycles. And if we take a look at the overall battery usage here, so we'll take a look at yesterday, I had 2 hours and 56 minutes of screen active time, 2 hours and 54 minutes of screen idle time, and used 97%. When I was in New York City, you can see, well, I charged it 109%, 117%, and only had 5 hours. So again, with full bars for 5G and cellular, it generally just wasn't good for me. Maybe I have too many things going on in the background, but I did turn off a bunch of settings and even use low power mode when I don't normally use that. So only 36% of comments said battery is good or better than the previous beta, so beta 7 or public beta 4. Now, as far as the overall comments and what you had to say, let's take a look at some of those. Hacked0813 said, I'm currently running iOS 18.6.2 on my iPhone 16. I recently downgraded from iOS 26 Public Beta 4 on August 22nd. Everything on my device is running smoothly for me. No bugs or problems so far. The battery life is significantly better compared to the iOS 26 betas when I'm using home Wi-Fi. However, I may notice a slight drain when I'm on cellular data. Overall, I'm having a very stable and smooth experience with the latest iOS public version. I'll wait until the release candidate in a week or two. Mysterious T2U said, 16 Pro Max on Developer Beta 8 and on watchOS 26 seems to be pretty good battery life, is good, everything smooths for the most part, some glitches and unresponsive touches from time to time, but overall it's almost ready for public release on the 15th. Heinolf 1996 says, I'm on the iOS 26 Public Beta 5 on the iPhone 15 Pro. The overall experience has been good. No crazy lag, and the ProMotion feels better than Public Beta 4. I still have an issue with the clear icons disappearing for some apps, then suddenly coming back after some back and forward scrolling. Battery life is still not great for me, needs to charge multiple times a day, but overall a good experience. And Voss4302 said, I finally took the plunge and now both my iPhones and both iPads are running iPadOS 26, a mix of Beta 8 and Public Beta 5. Some, mostly visual bugs still exist apparently, but on the whole I'm happy with it. My iPhone 16 Pro runs very smoothly and battery life is good. Jesus PGX says, huge camera improvement in my iPhone 16 Pro Max and iOS 26. I downgraded to check if it was true, and it definitely is. Lighter pictures, smooth skin, great colors, not grainy backgrounds anymore. I don't know what Apple did to iOS 26, but it literally fixed my camera that I hated since the very first day I bought this iPhone. JJWB11 said, I've had pretty good performance with Beta 8, but I will say apps feel slightly less snappy, like they dialed back the change from from a couple releases ago. The other main issue I'm seeing is strangely with the stickers area of messages. I send stickers as much as emojis, and when scrolling through stickers and messages, the stickers pane will often glitch out and close, and I'll have to reselect it. This happens very frequently. Overall, battery is very good, but the phone feels more hot than on Beta 7. Now, as far as overall storage, let's go ahead and take a look on both devices. We'll go back here, go to General, and then iPhone Storage. If we scroll to the bottom, iOS 18.6.2 is taking up a little bit less than iOS 26 Beta 8, but Apple Intelligence is slightly more on the current public release, and then iOS is a little bit more on the beta. So 19.81 gigabytes compared to 18.66 gigabytes for the latest public release. Now, based on the majority of comments, both on the YouTube community poll and online, iOS 18.6.2 is still highly reliable and polished after a week with good performance and good battery life for most users. iOS 26 Beta 8 and Public Beta 5 are generally stable, but still a bit of a work in progress, but many appreciate the new design and features, so hopefully the remaining issues are cleared up before its release, and then of course we'll get iOS 26.1, maybe we'll see a new beta with that as well, we don't really know, but we're looking forward to the latest updates, and of course when they release I'll let you know. So that's everything with iOS 26 Beta 8, Public Beta 5, and iOS 18.6.2. Apple's latest public release seems to be very good. Of course, we're looking forward to iOS 26 RC or possibly a Beta 9 and iOS 26.1 betas as well. Let me know what you're looking most forward to in the comments below. Are you planning to pick up an iPhone 17, maybe a new Apple Watch or something else? Let me know in the comments. Of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.